Hello, welcome back. Our deployment has been completed. Now let's go to Spark or Azure Synapse Studio and let's go to Managed App. Now you could see we have a SQL pool which is serverless, but if you select Apache Spark pool, you could see we created or we decided to use memory optimized small or weak core based Spark pool. And if you click on this one, you could see the details of your current configurations. Let's close this option. Similarly, if you want to make changes, you could use this option. You could change the settings. And let's cancel this option. And we have few more options are there. So if you click on this dot, you could see there are few more options are there. Now let's go to the monitor tab and you could see right now we don't have any Spark session running. And if you go to Spark pool, you could see we have SQL Spark pool is there. And if you go to Apache Spark pool, you could see we have a Spark pool, but there is no core because we didn't started the session, so there is no core allocated or memory allocated. Now let's go to data tabs, and in order to use Spark session or Spark pool, we could create a notebook. So if you go to development tab, you have an option to create notebook, and by using notebook you could use Spark pool. And you could see not started. The current status is not started. The session is not started and it's not allocated any Spark infrastructure. But we could select the Spark pool. If you have multiple Spark pool, you could select the Spark pool which you are going to use to execute this notebook. So let me select the one which we created, Spark 31. And you could see we have an option to select wide variety of language. So this is the default language. And inside your notebook, you could write code using either Python, Scala, or SQL or R. Even though you selected Python, still you will be able to write SQL code or Scala code using magic command that we will discuss later. And this is the cell where we will write the code. So it's just like our Databricks infrastructure or notebook. We have a notebook and we could either write code, we could write different code, or we could even write command or documentation. You could design the documentation using Markdown. Say for example, this is sample, and if you want to customize the view, you could use any of these options. Say for example, if you want to make it bold, you could use this option and you could see that output is in bold. Similarly, if you want to edit, you could use this option and you could select a sample test and you could make it italic, or even you could write list. So if you select this one and if you want to make it list, you could see you will be able to make it list. So there are options to customize this your document, and even you could browse the image and add it to your document. And if you want to, so this is a cell. This is a code cell, and if you want to make this code cell to Markdown, you could use this option, and you could convert a Markdown cell to code using this option. And if you want to delete the cell, you could delete this option. And similarly, we have few options to move the cell up and down. You could use this option. So if you select a cell, and you could see move up or move down, and hide input or hide output. So similar kind of options are there. Now in order to write the code and execute, you could use this button. So you could simply write the code. Say for example, my name is Sharafu and I am going to assign to a variable called name. Now you could execute using run cell or run all. So run cell will execute the current cell, and run all will execute all the cell from the top. Similarly, you could select a cell and you could execute using shift enter. So if you execute shift enter, or if you press shift enter, your cell will execute, and for the first time it will take some time. For the first time it need to start the session and allocate the pool, so it will take some time. You could expect 2 or 3 minutes to start the session, and you could see our session is ready. And our code has started to execute. Similarly, if you go to, so the code has executed completely. Now if you go to monitor tab, and if you select Apache Spark pool, you could see the session is in running. And if you go to Apache Spark pool, you could see it's allocated. So let's refresh. So it will allocate vCore and memory. I think it's still not reflected here. We'll check it after some time. Now let's go to develop tab, and you could see the code has executed completely. Now if you want to rename this notebook, you could use this option, property window, say sample notebook 1, and you could hide it. Now if you execute another cell, it won't take this much time. It will take immediately, it will execute immediately because the session is live. Say for example, let's execute again, and you could see it's executed within 1 second. It didn't take any extra time because the session is already live. Now you could execute even SQL code or Spark code, Spark Scala code or Spark SQL code or R code using magic command. Say for example, if you want to execute a SQL code, you could use percentage. Then you could see we have an option to select SQL or Spark. Even C# also there. Let me select SQL. Now you could write SQL code. So magic percentage SQL means, or magic command means, this cell is using a different language. Now let's write a select and let's execute it. And you could see the result. My name is Sharafu, and we executed using SQL code. Now if you look at the session, or if you look at this green button, you could see your session will expire 30 minutes, which means this notebook will expire in 30 minutes. But if you remember, while creating Spark pool, we set 5-minute timeout. That means if the pool is inactive for 5 minutes, we need to time out. Now what will happen if you set current session timeout is 30 minutes? Your session will time out in 30 minutes, and it will take another 5 minutes to terminate your pool. So if you want to adjust the time, so right now it will take 35 minutes to terminate the pool. So if you want to adjust this time, you could see it's taking 29 minutes. So it will take 29 minutes to terminate the session and another 5 minutes to terminate the pool. You could customize this option by going to this configure session and going to session timeout, and you could set it to 1 minute or 2 minutes, or you could set it 5 minutes. So if you set it 5 minutes, it will take 10 minutes to terminate the pool. 5 minutes it will take to session out, and another 5 more minutes to terminate the pool. So let's stop now, and so our session is stopped. Now in order to start the session, you could simply run any cell, and as we didn't deallocated the infrastructure, so if you go to Spark pool, you could see the core and memory are still there, so it won't take much time. It will immediately start. So you could see the session took around 43 seconds, but in the first case it took around more than 2 minutes and 49 seconds. because the session start as well as memory allocation and core allocation took this much time. But right now it took only 48 seconds. Now if you execute again, it will take hardly 1 or 2 seconds because the session is live and the core infrastructure is also ready. Now if you want to stop your session, you could use this button also. You could see stop session is there, and once you click stop session, your session will get terminated. Now if you go to monitor tab, you could see your Spark pool still not deallocated. It will take another 5 more minutes to deallocate, and you could see all the core and memory has been released, and it took more than 10 minutes. Normally it should took only 5 minutes, but it took more than 10 minutes. Let's go back to development tab and let's publish all the changes. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.